What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Tramel Thompson, and we're going to have a great show today. As you've seen on the thumbnail, it read, "Is Big Stick Management back in town with the new MTA president?" Face on it, Richard Davey. And I'm going to be playing a video, and I want you guys to decide, is Big Stick Management back in town? But before I get into that, I want to get into our MTA workers and riders rally that we're having on May 14th, 2022. The location is going to be Church Avenue on the B&Q. There's no B train running on Saturday, so it's just going to be the Q train, and it's going to be at Church Avenue. The time is going to be 10 a.m. We're going to be talking about rider worker safety, accessibility, subway, bus, accessorized service, women's issues, discipline, homelessness, EDP issues, public restrooms, hazard pay, MTA executives accountability. I mean, we're going to be talking about a lot of things because for some reason, people think that the riders and the workers' issues don't go hand in hand. They really do. And with the MTA, what they do on their end is that they put a lot of time keeping us against one another. Like when they say, oh, we got to raise the fares because we got to give them money for a contract, it be lies. You know, they try to pit us against one another because they know the day that we come together as riders and workers, a lot of this BS is going to come to an end. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I want to do. And that's what we're going to do. So don't forget, May 14th, Saturday, 2022, 10 a.m., Church Avenue on the B&Q line. Make sure you come out, bring a sign. It don't have to be what I said or what's on the flyer. You could bring a sign about anything. Bring a sign about anything. But we're going to rally. We're going to make our voices ring, and we're going to have some fun. So, yeah, like I said, y'all seen the show title. Is Big Stick Management back in town? And what I want to start off with first is that I want to get into a little bit of his history. And I pulled this from LinkedIn. And just to show you guys, back in 2011, now this ain't his complete history, but this is his transit history of what I want to show. So basically from September 2011 to October 2014, he was basically in the business of transportation. Between 2014 and 2022, he was not in the business of transportation. We talking about a difference of 8 years. 8 years he was not in transportation. And I don't know if that's a big deal or not, but I think in this business, in order to be successful, you got to keep your ear to the streets. You have to be involved in it. And is 8 years a long departure to come back and get your feet wet in the game? And just to bring things into clarity, he ran a system with only 6,000 workers when he was in Boston. 6,000 workers, and the ridership was only 1.7 million. That dwarfs in comparison to New York City Transit, who have, I think, around like 70,000 employees. And prior to COVID, 5 to 8 million riders a day. I think the ridership now is like close to 4 million, definitely over 3 million. Doubles what he's used to managing on a good day. You know, and that boggles my mind when it comes to hiring outside managers, outside presidents to come take over New York City Transit when they don't really have the experience of running a transportation system like New York City Transit. Now, there's plenty of transportation systems in the country. You have BART, you have CTA in Chicago, you have Boston, you have DC, but nothing is in comparison to New York City Transit. It's my belief that when it comes to hiring managers of that magnitude, I believe that the leadership of the company should come from within. I don't believe it should come from outside. Now, I say that, but at the same time, I also say that I like Byford as a manager. You know, he's going to do manager things, but I think that he was a people's person. I think that he did care about the workers, and I think that's going to be hard to compare another guy like Richard Davey to. I don't think that. I think Byford made his mark. He left his mark here, and it's a hard act to follow. Who knows if this guy will be able to do the same thing? Now, I did find some videos of a playbook, I guess, that he uses. I don't know if it worked. I don't know if it doesn't. I don't know if these guys do it for show, to show what they are doing, to act like they care, because there's a lot of that here in New York City Transit. A lot of managers acting like they care about the riders, about the workers, about safety, about our work environments. We see a lot of that. So the first video that I'm going to play is a video. It was shot 11 years ago. I found it on YouTube. And the reason I'm showing this video, because I want to show you that Richard Davey, I start calling him President Davey. Is it Davey or Davey? Somebody got to correct me. I'm going to say Davey just to be safe. President Davey, he uses a playbook. Like I said, this video was shot 11 years ago. So let's play this video, and then we go get into the video that was shot 3 days ago. Check it out.
Any suggestions for me? Complaints? Advice? I'm new.
Our customers are interacting with the system once, twice, several times a day, so it's important for us to listen to what they have to say and to try to be responsive, or to answer their questions if there are things that they see in the system that don't make sense, but from an operational perspective do. We can explain that as well.
Like I said, that video was shot 11 years ago, and I want to play you guys the video that was shot 3 days ago. Let's check it out.
It is the first day on the job for the new president of the New York City Transit Authority. Richard Davey will oversee operations of the city's subway and bus system. This morning, he spoke with commuters at the Roosevelt Avenue station in Jackson Heights, Queens. One challenge he's facing is restoring ridership. He says his top priorities are safety, reliability, and cleanliness.
What we can control is when employers want to bring back their employees, those employees need to feel like they're going to come back to a safe and comfortable ride.
Davey previously served as the Secretary of Transportation for the state of Massachusetts.
Now, as you can see, a video that was shot 11 years ago to a video that was shot 3 days ago, he uses the same format, go out, talk to passengers, talk to workers, I guess hear feedback. I don't know what he do with that feedback, or hope that he does something productive with it. But it's worth taking note that he does follow a playbook, and I don't know if it's for optics, because there's a lot of virtue signaling in this company. In fact, in this city, it's a lot of virtue signaling, and I'd rather go by actions, right? I'd rather go by actions and see changes, tangible changes. Now, like I said, y'all see the title of the show is Big Stick Management Back in Town. Now, I found a video where he did talk something very suspicious, where I was like, whoa, hold up. Is this guy about discipline? Is President Davey about the big stick management? Because let's be real. New York City Transit, the MTA, they not hiring anybody who's really about changing the culture here. I think that when they hired Byford and they seen what type of time Byford was on, they was like, we got to get this guy up out of here. He's not good for the type of business that we used to running. You know, this culture, they're not focused on building morale. They're not focused on happy employees. They're not focused on anything outside of discipline. They're not focused on anything outside of retaliation. These are facts. You guys been watching my show for years. I've been releasing documents for years, substantiating everything that I've said. this guy, President Davey, this video really raised my eyebrows, and I'm like, we got to see what we have on our hands here. So I want you guys to watch the video, and you let me know what you think. Check it out.
Whether that would have prevented what occurred. But again, that's part of our investigation. I was the general manager at the time, and I obviously have different, whether that would have prevented what occurred. But again, that's part of our investigation. I was the general manager at the time, and I obviously have different opinions with arbitrators. I don't win all the time. We don't win all the time. But the employees also have employment rights at the MTA. The arbitrator reinstated it. And obviously our discipline investigation is now ongoing. I think we'll be making a decision soon. But again, he has rights. And so while I happen to disagree with the outcome, he did have rights under the collective bargaining agreement. Certainly, I get frustrated from time to time. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think it's about that. It's about making sure the 11 people who were injured are okay, and it's about making sure that whatever the cause of this accident, that we take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, what happened 4 years ago, but it's now about moving forward and making sure it's as safe a green line as possible.
Now, it was something about when he said he has rights. He has rights. Like, he was disappointed that that particular employee had rights, had a union. His thing with the arbitrators, and sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. That's big stick management talk. Do not get it confused or twisted. I want to go back to a part of the video, and I want you guys to look at his face when he actually says he has rights. Look at it.
What occurred. But again,
check this out right here. Look how he said it.
Again, he has rights, and so while I happen to disagree with the outcome, he did have rights under the collective bargaining agreement. Certainly,
he has rights, but I disagree with the outcome. Now, just to be fair, I don't know what the case was about. I don't know what it was over, but it seemed like this guy don't like the fact that employees got rights. Now, one thing I do want to point out is we have to be careful. We must pay attention to language. We must do our research. And I truly believe that, Jan Oliba is familiar with my work. He knows what I do. He knows I investigate. I look into things. I truly believe that when they was hiring this guy, that they scrubbed his background as clean as possible. There's only a few things for him to be the general manager and the leader of a transportation agency at one time. There's little to nothing of him on the internet. And I find that to be very strange. I did find something, and I didn't put in the show, that he is against, or was against, strollers being on buses at one time. But in that article, he said he regrets saying that. So, and that's the fight right now in New York, in New York City. Parents want to be able to bring their strollers on a bus without folding them up. And there's a fight between the ADA. It's a fight between the parents, and there's the voices of the bus operators who have their opinions, who will probably have to be referees if there is a dispute, and it's becoming a thing in New York, and I'm interested to hear what his stance is on that. Now he also, in the news, he said this statement. And we talking about President Davey. He said, how we treat our employees is key. And I saw some places I wouldn't want to use the bathroom. So we're going to fix some of that, he said. Now, one question I would like to ask him is, we've been working under these conditions for a long time. Every president come and say the same thing, that they want to fix this, they want to fix that. These things rarely get fixed because the average lifespan of a MTA president is 2 years. And every president come and say, I want to fix the facilities. I wouldn't use these bathrooms. I want to do this to the employees. And it just become a narrative of virtue signaling, saying you're going to do it, to act like you care, to try to gain some praises and some favor, to make us think that you're a good guy. The question becomes, you are now the president. What are you going to do with the people who are in charge of fixing these facilities, maintaining our facilities? Do you think that they should remain in a role that they remain in? If it's not a bathroom that you're comfortable using, just imagine what other locations that workers are subjected to using, because that's the only choice that we have. You know, you go to 2 Broadway, all the bathrooms are beautiful. All the bathrooms are clean, state of the art. You go to our facilities, it look like you're in Central Bookings or in Rikers Island, sometimes worse. What are you going to do with the leadership and management in New York City Transit who is upholding these conditions and had us virtually working in these conditions, knowing what they look like, knowing what the conditions of these facilities are, right? What are you going to do about that, Mr. President Davey? Another thing, you have, I'm not gonna lie, you have one tough job on your hand. I don't think that you know what you're getting into. You have racist managers to manage. I don't know. Did you ever hear about Jason Brown? No. Let's see. You know, Jason Brown, he's a New York City superintendent in management. And he said this comment. I want to make sure I get this quote right. He said this comment of, where is that? He says, remember, white people, your sole purpose during this time is to protect people of color while they are destroying the city. He said this during a very sensitive time for New York City when there was riots going on. The killing of George Floyd just happened. And he was emboldened to say that and other things, torturing employees. And the MTA, they claimed that they wanted to fire him. They went to arbitration, and he was allowed to keep his job after being demoted for 6 months, slap on the wrist. And they kept him inside New York City Transit subways. Do you feel the same way Jason Brown feel? Are you go bow down to the black people as a white person? I don't know. This is how your managers feel. You have managers who practice nepotism and ethics violations, such as your acting chief officer, Charles Hinchke, in subways. And he was aided and abetted by Paul McPhee, which is the chief officer. In that situation, Charles Hinchke, who has been targeting employees for decades in New York City Transit, decided to target me, and I wasn't with it. And other managers told me about his dirty little secret of him giving his brother, him using his position to get his brother an office job. His brother's a train operator. Give him an office job inside 130 Livingston. Now, one of the reasons this upsetted me, besides him targeting me, was that I've been advocating for light duty work for pregnant women for a long time in New York City Transit. And New York City Transit answers the same. We don't have light duty work. Well, it was funny that your acting chief officer, Charles Hinchke, found light duty work for his brother, pulling his brother, which is a man, off the train to go work in an office. I know plenty of pregnant women who would prefer, instead of climbing up and down trains on the roadbed, instead of investigating BIEs in the subway tunnel, climbing up and down train and walking half their train length, bus operators operating with a belly 8-9 months pregnant, cleaners pulling garbage pregnant. I'm quite sure any one of those women would love to have an office job, the same office job that Charles Hinchke gave to his brother. Now, not only that, President Davey, more nepotism happened after the charges were substantiated against Mr. Hinchke. Paul McPhee, which is Charles Hinchke co-worker and friend, Chief Officer Paul McPhee, was responsible for disciplining Charles Hinchke. What ended up happening there, Hinchke was up for a promotion, and what they did forcefully by SIR, because SIR started asking labor relations what's going on with this discipline. It was 6 months later after the charges were substantiated. Yeah, it took them 6 months to come up with a lie, right? And the lie was on his Dan was bias activity, which was BS. I seen that. It was reported to me. I went to the MTA IG's office. They kicked it back to New York City Transit, and nothing happened with that. What they did was change it to nepotism and ethics violation after Mr. Hinchke got his promotion. And then more nepotism happened with SIR Miranda Grant, where they tried to cover it up and say that it was mislabeled. No way on earth that was mislabeled by accident. It was purposely mislabeled by Chief Officer Paul McPhee. All of this is substantiated. I have all the damn history on that. I even have the internal emails that the MTA is now trying to retaliate on me and give me discipline on, stating the fact that there was a cover-up going on and that they did take 6 months to issue the discipline. Nobody, it don't take that long for them to discipline anyone here in New York City Transit. And it shows that it was a cover-up by labor relations and by SIR. Like I said, you have a job on your hand, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I have plenty of documents that I can release. Speaking of nepotism, speaking of retaliation, speaking of cronyism, speaking of heavy-handed discipline and things of that nature. But I don't know. You said something very alarming in that video. Maybe this is your club. Maybe you want to be a part of the Old Boys Club. Maybe they brought you in to right the ship of the Old Boys Club. I don't know, President Davey, but I tell you what, we're going to be watching. Now, another thing that is going on in New York City Transit, and this was brought to my attention just recently. I've been stating for years the MTA do not care about worker safety. This was brought to my attention today that the MTA was issued repeat serious violations for workplace violence, right? So now on this paper right here, I'm going to read some excerpts that I have highlighted. The MTA was previously cited for a violation of this occupational safety and health standard or its equivalent standard, 12 NYCRR 800.6I, which was contained in PESH inspection number 1357036, citation number 1, item number 2, issued on November 13th, 2019. Now, by August 9th, 2022, these issues got to be rectified, and this is coming from the Department of Labor. The employer, with the participation of the authorized employee representatives, did not evaluate the workplace to determine the presence of factors which may place employees at risk of workplace violence. That's huge. A serious violation. Another serious violation. The employer did not conduct an evaluation of the physical environment with the participation of the authorized employee representatives to determine the presence of factors which may place employees at risk of workplace violence at Nostrand Avenue subway station, Nostrand Avenue at Fulton Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11216. I mean, if we go through these documents, you see is detailed. Serious violations. Serious violations. I want to read this other violation, which is on page 5 I just put up just now. And I'm looking at citation 2, item 3, part B. The Governor's Office of Employee Relations, Prevention of Workplace Violence training provided for Department of Subways, Department of Buses, and Administration included general information about risk factors and methods to control the risk incident alert and notification procedures, and the location of the program and how to obtain a copy. The training did not include risk factors in their workplace that they were identified in the risk evaluations and the measures employees can take to protect themselves from those identified risk factors. See, the MTA is all about leaving us in the dark. I've complained about that. Back in October of last year, a MTA conductor was shot in the face with a BB gun, needed special surgery to get the pellet out his nose. The MTA did not alert workers of what happened. We had to find out through the news. We had to find out through social media. Just recently, with the shooting last month, the MTA did not alert workers of a shooting. We had to find out from the news. I spoke to a worker the other day. He told me he had to find out from his loved ones calling him, telling him to be careful because there was a shooting on the train. The MTA do not alert us of when there's violence, whether it's happening in real time or it happened 2-3 weeks ago. They do not alert us. Now, another part of the serious violation from the same page, it's in citation 2, item 4, is basically the last paragraph. The employer, which the participation of the authorized employee representative, did not conduct a review of the workplace violence incident reports at least annually to identify trends in the types of incidents in the workplace and review of the effectiveness of mitigating actions taken. The MTA do not care about worker safety. Not at all. They do not care. Let me go to the last page. I'm looking at citation 3, item 2. It's at the bottom. The employer did not use SH 900 log of work-related injuries and illnesses, SH 900.1 annual summary of work-related injuries and illnesses, and SH 900.2 injury and illness incident report or equivalent forms and associated instructions for recordable injuries and illnesses. So you know what this tells me? This tells me that the MTA do not want to keep a record of the incidences that happen to workers on his job, specifically the violence, because it would substantiate 2 things. Transit workers work in an unsafe environment. The MTA is not doing anything to protect workers. See, and I told you guys this before. The MTA do not have a choice to protect workers. They have an obligation. Jan O'Lieber, he likes to point and say, hey, you know, we need better legislation. We have a mayor that's willing to work with us. We doing this with NYPD. No, he's passing the buck. The company must do something now. They are passing the buck. We don't work for the legislators. We do not work for NYPD. We work for New York City Transit, MTA. They must do their job. And that's what this workplace violence investigation was, that was substantiated with serious repeat offenses because of the MTA. Right? So what's going on? Right? This could be, if the MTA do this, we're going to have a legit argument for hazard pay. And we're not talking about the hazard pay that they said they was going to give to us during the pandemic. We're talking about hazard pay as a part of our job descriptions, right? The MTA is doing everything in their power to avoid that, everything in their power to really show the public the work conditions and environments that we work in. It's literally a war zone in New York City Transit. I just posted today. Someone was stabbed at New Lots Avenue. That's a popular station on a train. How can you stab someone at a popular station with no police around? How can they get away? Right? So we're having a serious issue in New York City Transit, and it's perpetuated by the bosses. The bosses do not care about the workers in New York City Transit. The evidence is here. The evidence is here. I'm happy that this report came out. It shows you what I've been saying all along. The MTA have no intent on protecting the workforce. No intent. And like I tell the ride in public, if they cannot protect us, then how can they protect you? President Davey, you have a job on your hands. I don't know if you're going to come here and uphold the Old Boys Network. That video that you did put about he has rights. He has rights. It's very alarming. That's big stick management talk. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, we're not going to be taking that big stick management stuff. And we're going to set the tone. We're going to reset the room May 14th, 2022 at our rally on Church Avenue at the B&Q train. We're going to reset the room, reset the tone. Right? And that day moving forward, I'm going to show you guys all that discipline that this company loved to dish out, all the retaliation they like to do to their employees. They like to put targets on employees back when we do complain, when we do say something about our bathrooms, when we do say something about abusive managers, when we do say something about the discrimination. All of that is going to come to an end, right? We're doing things different around here, right? We're not taking nothing less than humanity. If you don't plan to treat us with humanity, you may have an issue here. You may have a problem here. Now, we wish you the best. We want the best. We want a working relationship with management. We don't want to work in deplorable conditions. We want to be treated with respect. We want to not be discriminated against. We don't want to be retaliated against because we said this manager did this or this manager did that. So if you plan to right these wrongs and get rid of this bad management that's destroying the culture of the workforce in this company, because what's reflected on us is also reflected on the passengers. You can't expect us to be happy with the customers and be all jolly and happy when you treating us like trash. That's not something we're going to be going for. But we do wish you the best. We hope you're here to do the right thing. And we hope that you stay longer than 2 years if you plan on doing the right thing. But if not, we're going to get you out of here. I'll catch you later. I'll catch you guys later. We stay up. We're going to be paying attention to President Davey. Believe that. Catch you guys later. Peace.